U.S. Davis Cupper David Wheaton joins us in studio to share some memories and tell us about his latest project. All that and more when Tennis Channel live from Los Angeles returns.
And when we come back, a special guest, one of the young bucks in a photograph. In that photograph,
hey,
they used to be teenagers. The guy in the middle still acts the most like.
We'll give you a hint. The one that's coming on didn't do a lot of chest exercises.
Oh, David Wheaton's coming up. Back on TC Live. And a special guest joining us this morning. David Wheaton was part of that generation of American tennis players in the late 80s and the 90s that reinvigorated the sport in this country. Trained on the backcourts at Bollettieri's and NCAA champion at Stanford. 3 singles titles, reached 12 in the world and made the semifinals at Wimbledon in 1991. And we welcome the pride of Minneapolis, David Wheaton, to Studio 4 and Tennis Channel. And we're going to keep showing photos of your glory. We want to start by having you and Paul argue who had the better career, because you both topped out at 12.
Yeah, we're also doubles.
Yeah, you guys didn't say anything about how much he helped me up on the doubles.
How much did he help you?
A lot.
It was the other way around. This guy playing with this guy's hands and serves, and I suspect he needed your help on the return.
Only once in a while.
Slightly. But when they went in, they were on return.
Actually, you guys played doubles together. I played doubles with Paul. Since we're at transitive property, I played doubles with you.
That's right.
I hosted with all of you.
So one happy family.
We showed that photo going to break of you and Andre and Jim and Martin Blackman at the Bollettieri Academy. Just take me back to those days. Paul obviously was there a little bit before you. What was it like back in those days on the backcourts, in the dorm rooms with a generation of American players that would become one of the greatest of all time?
Very memorable and amazing. I mean, I don't think you realize at the time when you're there, when you're 15, 16 years old, but as you look back and you think what kind of environment we had there. Yeah, that was before I got in the weight program.
I was saying, what you gained maybe in the chest muscles maybe was decreased into the hair. So you take some, you give some.
I know. A little more streamlined now. But yeah, I mean, just having that environment, with Agassi and Courier and Blackman and Krickstein was there. All these different players were there at the same time. I mean, what a conducive environment to improve. And Nick was such a great coach. A lot of other great coaches there. Monica Seles was down there at that time as well. So it was a special time at the academy.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to be there before David, and that environment just breeds greatness, and it breeds a healthy competitive spirit. So it's easy for the cream to rise to the top. And obviously, David, you were there with so many great players, and to segue into some of those great players goes Davis Cup, because it's a pinnacle event on our tour. And you were on the team in '93. What's your perspective of the Davis Cup and your memories?
Well, it was tough to make the team when I was playing. We had a couple guys ahead of me who were pretty good, Sampras and Agassi and Chang and Courier, but it was one of the best memories, even though I only played once. We went down and played at Kooyong in Australia, which was a great historic place to play on grass. We lost to Australia that year, but it was certainly, I'm a kind of a patriotic guy, so I love playing for my country. I love playing in teams too. Tennis is so individualistic. I grew up playing hockey a lot, so I loved any opportunity to play on a team, whether in college or in Davis Cup, was a great thing.
It's the law in Minnesota. You have to play hockey.
You must play hockey.
Even if you're a tennis player, you play hockey.
Yes.
David, the state of American tennis, we discuss it a lot. There are a lot of different opinions. Why is American tennis regressed relative to the golden era that you took part in?
Yeah, that is the $64,000 question.
64?
64. Inflation has moved to $64,000.
You see the USGA's budget, but it's a lot more than that.
Yes, you're right. I think players develop. You look at every good player that develops, and I'm sure it's the same for you both. There's a coach or there's a parent who just takes a special interest in that boy or girl and knows how to take that boy or girl from here to there. And I think we can sometimes overcomplicate it by developing a big organizational system. But I don't necessarily have the perfect answer to that particular question, but I just know how we developed, and it was a lot of intense coaching. I call it the 5 C's. It takes some court time, a lot of court time. It takes coaching. It takes competition. It takes some camaraderie. I think that helps that environment we had at Bollettieri's. And it takes a little bit of cash. And so those 5 C's, I think, are the things that go into developing players.
I want to flash back to one of the highlights of your career, 1991 Wimbledon. Obviously, everybody remembers the win over Andre Agassi in the quarterfinals, that dramatic 5-setter. A lot of people forget the win over Lendl in the third round. What are your memories of that fortnight? Lendl was the 3 seed, Agassi was the 5 seed, and you rolled through that draw.
Yeah, I think that was the first time I had played on center court, so it was a big moment. I remember walking out from the locker room, which used to be attached to center court at that time. So you kind of walk down the stairway and come around, you see the sign with if you can meet a triumph and disaster, walk out on the court, and you're just buzzing, your adrenaline just flowing right when you walk on that court. And so I think I was on a high right away. And I played really well that day against Lendl. I think my game matched up well with him on grass. I kind of took him out of his comfort zone from a standpoint. If he wants to control the points, well, I try to do that to him and make him feel uncomfortable. But that was a memorable moment to beat him on center court that day.
I actually woke up on, that was the breakfast at Wimbledon semifinals. I remember watching you play Becker in the semi.
That one didn't go quite as well.
You get a break point early in the first set, maybe about 3
it was
all,
close.
4. You had some chances. Lost the first set tiebreak.
It was like 5, 6, and 4. It was close, and I think that match maybe was a matter of I was young. It was a matter of belief. You know, Becker had probably won Wimbledon a couple times at that point, and maybe didn't have the belief to win that day.
All right, we are here to help promote your new book. David is an accomplished author. It's called My Boy Ben. It's about you and your yellow lab. Tell us about the book and what the genesis of it was.
Well, I had a dog named Ben late in my tennis career. You know, these guys know what it's like to travel on the tour. You're gone all the time, and so I really wanted to get a dog. And so the book is about this dog I had late in my tennis career, and then how much of an impact this dog actually made on my life, the journey with him. So it was this transitional time from my late years on the tour to coming off the tour to what I'm doing now. And just an example, I know you're a dog lover, so you know how much of a dog can enhance our lives. And so Ben would go with me. There he is, right there in the tennis court. He'd drive John with me every day in the Jeep to the practice, and he'd sit by the side of the court. And then afterwards, we'd go run sprints. And so just the journey with this dog, and especially losing him, that process of just going through that grief. I mean, I had lost loved ones in my life before, but for some reason, because we were so close, that really was an excruciating time. But the third part of the book is about the grace that followed, and that was a big impact on me.
Well,
truly unconditional love.
Yes, very much so.
The book is called My Boy Ben. It's available in bookstores, Amazon. You can get it on Amazon as well. And we'll go to break showing a picture. It's great to have you here, David. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me on.
David Wheaton, part of that great American generation. Get his book. And we'll be back with more, including an update on Roger Federer as he heads into Indian Wells. Back on TC Live in a moment.